Which of the following do you think is not true? A. A giraffe went missing in the United States. B. New York City's horse-drawn carriages lead to death again in June, this time of the humankind. Or C. New York City has abolished all horse-drawn carriage use. 2 of those are correct, and 1 of those is not. Keep listening to Formosa Fauna to find out which is which. Spend the next 20 minutes feeding your brain with Formosa Fauna so you can become smarter than all of your friends. Every Friday is Formosa Fauna Friday. Hello, I'm Tristan, the voice of Formosa Fauna. I love animals and I love talking about them. If you're even remotely curious about the animal kingdom, you are in the right place. Today we're going to talk about Taiwan's big move to completely prohibit metal snares used to catch wild boars, a large exotic animal going missing in Texas, very surprisingly, a disaster strikes New York City's horse-drawn carriages yet again, an eradication campaign nearly wipes out an invasive cane toad population in Taiwan, Venezuela's missing and rescued pets, and a Chihuahua Dachshund soccer superstar. Let's dive right in. Animal welfare groups delivered a petition bearing 50,000 signatures to the presidential office late June, urging authorities to completely prohibit large caliber metal snares that are supposed to be used to catch wild boars. Prior to the submission, members of the Taiwan One Ecology Coalition and other advocacy organizations staged a demonstration on Ketagalan Boulevard, according to UDN. Protesters argued that the traps inflict unnecessary suffering and frequently injure non-target wildlife. Campaigners said eliminating the snares would help protect Taiwan's mountain and forest ecosystems. They contended that traditional hunting practices were generally more selective and more respectful of ecological balance than the widespread use of large caliber traps. According to UDN, the devices have ensnared 31 endangered Formosan black bears over the past 5 years, resulting in 9 deaths. During the last 3 years, 9 leopard cats were also caught and 8 died. The coalition said the Ministry of Agriculture had pledged in 2024 to introduce a ban within a year, but no such prohibition has been implemented. In fact, in a previous episode of Formosa Fauna, we talked to somebody, I think it was from Taiwan One Ecology Coalition, and they had mentioned that they promised to introduce a ban within the year, and it still has not been implemented. The Forestry and Nature Conservation Administration said planned amendments to the Animal Protection Act would ban the import, manufacture, and sale of large caliber metal snares. However, the agency added that policymakers must also consider the livelihoods of farmers and the hunting rights of indigenous communities. Officials maintained that no clearly superior alternative currently exists, and they claimed that no clearly superior alternative currently exists, and noted that other countries generally regulate rather than fully prohibit such traps, often promoting designs intended to reduce harm to non-target species. The ministry said it has distributed 12,464 lower lethality traps while removing 4,000 metal snares from circulation. It added that the policy has resulted in no further reports of other species being caught or killed. A January survey conducted by the Council of Indigenous Peoples found that 41% of Indigenous respondents supported the newer traps, while about 60% opposed a complete ban on large caliber wild boar snares, UDN reported. Visiting the topic and our discussion about these wild boar snares in the past, what we talked about, and it would be really worth revisiting that episode, and I'm going to do a more in-depth, more comprehensive report on this in a future episode. But visiting that again, these metal snares are not at all what was originally used in indigenous hunting practices. In fact, those were made of some sort of plants and other things, so they weren't as lethal, right? So claiming that there's no superior, less lethal option on the market, there always has been. It's called using nature, right? It's not going to hurt as much. And the problem with these is they really do not discriminate. The snares, they do not know who is stepping into them. Your family, whoever's walking with you in the mountains, you could also step into one of these traps. It's just that you have access to a phone. These animals do not. And a lot of the people who put out these traps, they don't go around and check them daily. Even if they did, and they went around once a day, if somebody gets trapped in one of those, a cat, a dog, a Formosan black bear, or a Taiwanese leopard cat, and they're out there for an entire day bleeding out, trying to escape, scared, unable to access food and water, that's not great. And that's assuming that they do come around every day, which they, in most cases, do not. So, if you have any thoughts on the topic, please do send me an email at tristan@rti.org.tw. That is tristan@rti.org.tw. Tell me, how is this at all possible? A young giraffe wandered away from a Texas ranch and is still missing, with staff planning to continue searching after a reported sighting failed to lead to this giraffe's recovery. How do you lose a giraffe? The giraffe, named Gracie, disappeared from Cedar Hollow Ranch, where she is one of only 2 giraffes living among hundreds of exotic animals. Her owner is offering a $5,000 reward for information that results in her safe capture and return, according to officials in Real County. Authorities said Gracie was most recently spotted on a trail camera west of Leakey, about 100 miles or 160 kilometers northwest of San Antonio, Texas. Ranch manager Vic Jones said the giraffe, believed to be 3 or 4 years old, arrived at the ranch in May. The property is home to several hundred animals, including impalas, Nubian ibexes, and an antelope species native to Central Africa. Jones said Gracie wandered away after feeding on a hillside that the ranch's giraffes do not usually explore. She eventually reached an unfenced section between an 8-foot or 2.4-meter gate and left the property. A tip received late June prompted Jones to search an area about 4 miles or 6.4 kilometers from the ranch after someone provided photographs believed to show Gracie. However, he said the images had been taken several days earlier and the giraffe was no longer in that area. Jones said the search would continue until Gracie is safely brought back. And he also said everybody in the whole world seems to be looking for her. I feel like this has got to be the easiest game of hide and go seek. It's a giraffe. How many places near San Antonio, Texas can a giraffe hide? What? I'm so confused by how this is even possible. But if and when Gracie is found, I will update you. New York City's horse-drawn carriages are in the news again as disaster struck again in mid-June. Ida Seagal and Brian Price, reporting for NBC News, say an 18-year-old young man from India has died following a violent crash involving a runaway horse carriage in Central Park. The NYPD confirmed the 18-year-old's death a few hours after the horse bolted away from its driver. The passengers were unable to slow the carriage down themselves until the horse eventually crashed into another carriage, which was unfortunately also caught on video. These are things you don't look up, so resist the urge. The impact of the collision sent the 18-year-old passenger out of the carriage and into the ground. His head hit the pavement and he was rushed to the hospital nearby in critical condition. The man was a tourist from India. Officers reported that the rest of the family inside of the carriage, the rest of the family members, had only minor injuries. Another horse carriage driver who rushed to the scene upon hearing of the accident said the horse was completely fine. Once she arrived, she checked on the horse, then tied the horse to a nearby pole. Filling in the blanks here, I think the people had already been taken care of by emergency responders, so they just needed someone who knew how to handle the horse, because I'm assuming emergency responders don't usually take care of horses. This horse carriage driver who responded and tied the horse up, named Christina Hansen, said she spoke to the driver of the runaway carriage as well and described her as, or him, I think it was a man, described them as very, very shaken up. The Transport Workers Union oversees the horse carriage industry and said it supports a full investigation of the incident. TWU Local 100 Administrative Vice President Alexander Kemp said it appears the driver was at least an arm's length away from the horse because they took a photo of the passengers in the carriage. The horse, which had been in the park for just 6 weeks, allegedly took off for unknown reasons. The statement said that this was unacceptable and that a driver is not ever supposed to leave the carriage for any reason, including taking photos. Mayor Zoran Mamdani's office issued a statement in response to the incident, just explaining that he had been briefed on what happened and allegedly called for an end to the horse carriage industry in the city's parks, which is a bit more direct than previous statements I've heard following the horse Dennis's death. One bill under consideration by the New York City Council called Ryder's Law, Ryder's Law, does seek to ban horse-drawn carriages. It aims to transition the industry to humane, eco-friendly electric alternatives while providing workforce retraining and job placement programs for carriage drivers. The Central Park Conservancy, which is calling to ban horse carriages in the park, said, "A young man came to enjoy our park and lost his life. That is not an acceptable cost of an industry operating in the middle of one of the most heavily used public spaces in America." Taiwan's Forestry and Nature Conservation Agency said a 5-year eradication campaign has nearly wiped out an invasive cane toad population in Caotuan Township, Nantou County, reducing numbers from a peak estimated at 35,000. The agency's Nantou branch said the population reached its highest level in 2023. The control effort was carried out with universities, the Society for Taiwan Amphibian Conservation, and local community groups, according to CNA. Authorities believe the toads were originally imported as pets and later released, allowing breeding populations to become established in the wild. A single pair can produce roughly 8,000 to 35,000 eggs annually. The agency said invasive alien species are notoriously difficult to eliminate and require ongoing surveillance. Because cane toads are classified as a harmful invasive species, keeping or breeding them can result in fines of up to 50,000 NT dollars or $1,600 according to UDN. Officials warned that cane toads pose a major risk to native wildlife because they secrete a powerful toxin that can kill predators, including dogs and other animals. Their tadpoles are also toxic and can disrupt local ecosystems. Taiwan's Forestry and Nature Conservation Agency says the public is not advised to touch cane toads found in the wild. In fact, the opposite. They are advised not to touch cane toads found in the wild. The milky white toxin released from their glands can cause severe skin irritation and temporary vision loss if it enters the eyes. Anyone exposed should flush the affected area with water for at least 15 minutes and seek medical care if symptoms continue. Instead of trying to capture the animals, officials recommend taking a photograph, noting the time and location, and reporting the sighting through the Taiwan Amphibian Conservation Volunteers Facebook group or Taiwan's 1999 government service hotline. On June 24th, 2 catastrophic earthquakes struck northwest Venezuela, measuring 7.2 and 7.5. This is one of Venezuela's worst natural disasters in decades, with more than 235 people dead, more than 4,300 injured, and thousands of people still missing. Amidst the tragedy, World Animal News reports that stories of resilience continue to shine. Firefighters and rescue workers have been able to pull several pet dogs out from under the rubble of collapsed buildings and into safety. One of those dogs, Monik, was rescued alive and reunited with her owner, although the owner's mother remains missing. Another man emerged from a collapsed building carrying his 2 beagles. If you are a pet owner and the thought of something like this happening to you is unsettling, consider building a pet disaster preparedness kit. The United States CDC has a website listing everything that might come in handy, starting with records. The first thing the CDC suggests on the list is collecting documents, including vaccination records, medical summaries, prescriptions for medications, registration information, photos of each pet, descriptions, and microchip information. Of course, your contact information with your phone numbers and addresses as well. They suggest preparing a 2-week supply of food stored in waterproof containers, a 2-week supply of water, and a 2-week supply of any medications your pets may be on. You can look up the CDC's Pet Disaster Preparedness website for a handy checklist and pet boarding instructions PDF that you can print out and fill in. It's a 1-page document that lists critical information about your pets, your information contact, and their medical needs. So if you're in a crunch, this can really come in handy. Online, there are videos circulating of a Chihuahua Dachshund mix from Pennsylvania named Ronaldo, whose acrobatic soccer saves, NBC News says, have turned him into a viral sensation. Named after the soccer legend Cristiano Ronaldo, the 6-year-old pup has racked up millions of views online by diving, leaping, and sliding to block shots in his family's backyard net. I will say, given his size and build, it is very impressive that he can pull off such moves and defend the goal so well. My dog used to play soccer with me, but he was more of a defender and he wouldn't let me kick the ball past him. Sometimes I could get it past him and then he'd go chase it. I feel like they would have made a good team. You know, you got a goalie and some defense, just need some offense. At the beginning of today's episode, I asked you the question, which of the following is not true? The options were A, a giraffe went missing in the United States, B, New York City's horse-drawn carriages lead to death again in June, this time of the humankind, or C, New York City has abolished all horse-drawn carriage use. After listening to today's episode, I'm sure you know the answer if you did not know it before. A is correct. B is correct. So a giraffe really did go missing in the United States. B, the horse-drawn carriage led to the death of an 18-year-old Indian tourist. And the incorrect answer would be C, which is New York City has abolished all horse-drawn carriage use. This is not the case. Making it to the end of an episode makes you a Formosa Fauna friend. Thank you for tuning in, friend. See you next time for Formosa Fauna Fridays here on Radio Taiwan International.